I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's meeting of the Board of Directors on Tuesday, June 16th. Our invocation will be provided by Mike McMillan, Chief Operating Officer of Brook Hill Ranch Summer Camp, and then I'll lead the pledge. Please rise.
Mr. Mayor and Directors, thank you for the opportunity. Let's start in prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you for the opportunity to live in the world's greatest republic. We thank you for these representatives here and ask that you, by your Spirit, lead these people in wisdom, direction, discernment as they make decisions for our fine city. For the seen and unseen employees making daily decisions to provide smooth operation to all of the city's systems, we ask that you keep them safe and in good representation of the city. Lead this meeting tonight, please. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. We read it.
We'll call this meeting to order, and we have myself and two directors in chambers, and we have four directors remote. So welcome to all those who are remote, and please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday.
Here.
Director Elaine Jones.
Here.
Director Becca Clark.
Here.
Director Carol Weatherford.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia.
Here.
Director Randy Foley.
Here.
And Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. This time we'll consider the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda, or items to be moved from consent agenda to new business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor of the agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is adopted. At this time, we'll consider the approval of the minutes of the regularly held meeting on June 2nd, 2020. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Director Weatherford, Director Clark, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. A recognition of guests. We have a special guest, Ms. Linda Franklin, President of the NAACP, Chapter 6013. Please come forward. Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor, City Manager, and all directors. Thank you for having me. I want to come to talk to you about the Juneteenth celebration that's celebrated, and I can't begin talking about Juneteenth without first talking about slavery. And it was in 1525 when the first slaves were captured and kidnapped and exported across the Atlantic. In 1619, slaves landed at Jamestown, Virginia. From that time, they were used in servitude to work in the fields and the houses, and if they tried to escape, they were beaten and separated from their families and sometimes killed. And fast forwarding, the 13 colonies were in a rebellion against the Great Britain, and although they felt that they were being taxed without representation, and they fought for the Constitution, which said all men were created equal, but it actually did not make provision for the slaves, which were counted 3/5 of a person. And even when they won their independence, it was 82 years later before the slaves were free, and that came about after 1860 when Abraham Lincoln was elected president, and the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863. With Juneteenth, we celebrate because it was not until June 19th in 1865 before slaves in Texas found out about being free. Some say that the the people who tried to bring the word to them were captured and killed. And some also say that it was deliberately held so that they could finish the harvest for that particular year by using the slaves. So after finding out that they were free, it became a holiday through celebration with family. Some people even left the states where they were enslaved to go to the north, and some joined their family who they had been separated from. So it became a holiday for Texas, and there's been a fight to try to make it a national holiday throughout the years. I actually looked up Arkansas to see when did the slaves in Arkansas have to find about their freedom. And one source said it was like May the 25th, and another said there was a group of slaves in Helena that found out like June the 2nd that they were free. But it actually became united with the African Americans to celebrate the African American freedom on June the 19th. And so that's what I got from the research that I did about the Juneteenth. Last year, Hot Springs actually had a really big celebration, but with the COVID virus and the other things that are happening in the nation, we did not plan anything as far as the NAACP. There were churches that may have did a private celebration, but maybe there'll come a day again when we would be able to do something big once again here in Hot Springs. And again, I thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate you.
Linda.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now we'll look to our city manager, Mr. Bill Burrow, for the city manager's report.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I'm glad Ms. Franklin's here this evening. I think we've seen each other about every day for the last week or so. There's really a new coalition. I say new, it's been meeting for a few weeks now. I think it just got its name maybe yesterday, but it's the Unity Coalition of Garland County, meets weekly at Lake Point Church at noon. And it's a community-minded approach to law enforcement, which has been sweeping across the nation in this time of change and reform. And I'm proud to say that our police department has always had a strong relationship with our community. They're continuing to be proactive, along with the Sheriff's Department, to make sure the communication lines are open and trusted. The Police Department, Sheriff's Department have been coming, like I said, to this meeting on Monday, along with the NAACP, the Stop the Violence group that we started a couple of months ago, numerous churches and pastors for what is being called the Unity Coalition of Garland County. At this week's meeting, the coalition discussed plans for a community event in mid-July at one of the city's parks with free food and a Q&A and just really a coming together to really talk about some of the things that we have going throughout the nation and make sure those things don't embed here in Hot Springs. So we're looking forward to that. There's still going to be a lot of details that need to be worked out on that particular event, but the coalition will be releasing that soon. And you know, as we saw things happen throughout our nation after the death of George Floyd, there's been a lot of groups that have kind of started, and these smaller groups are all working really within the same context, the same goal. So I think this Unity Coalition is one that these other groups can move into. If you have a lot of little groups doing little things, then that's what you'll have, are a lot of little things. But if you can come together, unite, and have a large group working on a large project, then at the end of the day, you've done something that's large and makes a difference. So we're looking forward to that and appreciate all the work that Ms. Franklin has put into that over the past few weeks, as well as Mr. Beard. Purchasing portable shower and restroom trailer for the homeless is something that we're looking to get out on bid. We'll be purchasing one with the CDBG CV Act funds. The intent is to prevent the spread of COVID by providing restrooms and shower facilities for the homeless through the CARES Act. Since the onset of the pandemic, it has been much more challenging for homeless individuals to access restrooms, to be able to wash their hands. St. Luke's has not been able to have their shower ministry, so we feel this is something that would benefit our entire community. We borrowed the Garland County Emergency Management's shower trailer when we had the COVID-19 testing event at the farmers market. That went really, really well. So we plan on purchasing maybe a 3-stall station that we can use throughout the next several months, in working with some of the individuals like Dr. Sally Carter and Ms. Trish Nooner, who's been very involved with the shower ministry in the past, and we think this will kind of fit a need that we know is out there. So we're excited to get that out on bid, and we appreciate being able to use some CDBG CV CARES Act COVID fund money to do that. Want to say a little something about RDOT, and make sure that those here tonight and listening at home realize the investment that the Arkansas Department of Transportation has made in not only the city of Hot Springs, but our community, and they continue to do so. In preparation for the highway widening projects that will be started later this fall, we're also very involved in that. We have to relocate water and sewer mains just about anywhere where they widen one of the highways. So we're very involved with RDOT in these projects and plans. Diamond Construction of North Little Rock will start moving water and sewer mains on Highway 7 North between Fox Pass Cutoff and Fountain Lake School. That will be for the next segment of the widening of Highway 7 North. There are 2 other projects that have been bid and are waiting RDOT's concurrence so we can begin relocating utilities on Highway 270 West. That's from the Mountain Pine Junction and will end out by the Doggy Dude Ranch. And I believe there's even a second phase that will be coming probably in the next year or 2 that will take it from that point further out. The last is Highway 7 South. We've done the RDOT has done a lot of widening on Highway 7 South. They stopped there at 290 Albright Road. We have a project that'll start sometime in July that'll pick up from Albright Road and go out, I think, to Mitzi Parkway. And that's quite a distance, and what does that mean for us? It's really almost all roads leading into Hot Springs are going to be improved and widened, making it easier for visitors and those that are traveling from out of states to get into Hot Springs, as well as those traveling in state. So we're very appreciative of those, and would like to see those continue. MLK bypass extension is another one that we're very excited about. The right-of-way has been cleared. Construction has begun on the East Grand Avenue interchange and near the Mill Creek Road. That won't require any water or sewer relocates, but it is a big project that we're excited about. Last, the comprehensive plan community meeting. The last meeting was planned to be held kind of as a science fair format, but in light of the pandemic, they're going to be held virtually. There are 7 themes in the plan. One theme will be introduced daily starting on July the 5th with presentations, posters, information shared from our social media outlets and website. The public will be able to make comment on each one of these themes leading up to the Planning Commission meeting. And once we get through the Planning Commission, we'll be coming to the board to present that to you for adoption. A couple other notes. Majestic bid is open. It is out. Its closing date is July the 10th. We're getting a lot of interest again on that particular project, so we're excited to see what we open on July the 10th. And finally, Mayor, members of the board, Chief Chris Chapman starts officially July the 1st. However, he's been in contact with the captains, myself, looking forward to the chief's tenure here at the City of Hot Springs. I've talked to a lot of people in the community that are excited about Chief Chapman coming in. He's developed relationships in the past. He still has those relationships, and I can tell you that from a community policing standpoint, he is doing a lot of great things in Bluffton, some things that we actually weren't doing here before when he was here that he'll be bringing to us. So I think community policing is something we'll see a very high focus from Chief Chapman, and we're excited to be welcoming him on July the 1st. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Just like to add one item to your report, Mr. Burrow, is that Bill and I attended the governor's press conference today, which was held here in Hot Springs. As many of you know, he does a daily press conference. Sometimes it may not be on a weekend, but certainly a Monday through Friday and in most weekends. And he traveled to Hot Springs today, and we had lunch with him in advance of the press conference where ourselves and the county judge and legislative delegation and some educators and medical personnel and business executives were able to share with him their thoughts going forward and some of the challenges that each face. But he was very much welcomed, and then we moved over to another room for the actual press conference itself. So we were pleased to host his daily press conference here in Hot Springs. At this time, we'll entertain Board of Directors announcements regarding upcoming events. Do we have any upcoming events that need to be publicized? No public events, no upcoming events. Okay. And we have an announcement that Director Becca Clark will serve as Assistant Mayor for the period of July 2020 through December 2020. So she'll be sitting here if I am absent. So I'll give you my note. And then we also have our acknowledgement of our board agenda and meeting dates for the second half of the year, and we have a busy schedule. Of course, it always gets busy towards the end when we have the work sessions that are for the budget and capital improvements. So you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So we're always at the ready. At this time, we'll entertain the consent agenda. The consent agenda has items of a routine nature that do not require individual discussion. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Mayor, so move.
Got a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Director Holliday,
She's here. She stepped out, look like.
No, I'm here. Can you not hear me? Hi.
Okay.
I got you.
Hi.
Director
Sorry.
Jones,
Can't see you up there.
Director Jones,
Here.
Director
Whatever.
Clark,
Hi.
Weatherford,
Aye.
Garcia,
Hi.
Foley,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. In the new business, we only have two action items this evening, and the first is to consider Resolution R2090 and ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R20-90, a resolution setting a time and date for a hearing to abandon and close a portion of Romer Alley at Block 77 of Hot Spring Reservation and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So move.
Director Jones,
Second.
second by Director Clark, and City Clerk Harmony Morrissey will provide the staff overview.
Thank you. I'll click over to the map. On June 15th, 2019, property owner Mr. Ed Thompson, through his representative and architect Anthony Taylor, filed a petition with the city clerk's office to vacate a portion of Romer Alley to construct a structure to allow parking and access to the second floor of the building from Romer Alley. Mr. Thompson's building is located at 726 Central Avenue, which is the old Lockwood store. Romer Alley runs behind the back of these buildings and is level with the second floor of the building. Mr. Thompson's building has a bit more, you can see from the map, a bit more space behind it that would allow the building of the structure that he plans. This area would allow him parking and direct access to the second floor. The portion proposed to be vacated is roughly 24 feet by 8.5 feet, and it does not extend into the portion of Romer Alley currently used by vehicular traffic. So there would be no issue with fire, sanitation, or other vehicles serving the area. If you so choose to set the public hearing, it would be at your next regular meeting, July 7th. Notice would run in the Sentinel Record twice before that hearing. Any questions?
Very good. Any questions of Ms. Morrissey? Anyone sign up from the public to speak to this?
No, sir.
Please call the roll. Or discussion amongst directors, excuse me. Any discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Weatherford,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Holliday,
Aye.
And Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution's adopted. Our final action item of the evening is to consider ordinance 02030, and I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Director Clark, Director Weatherford. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules to read by title only. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Council, please read ordinance by title.
Ordinance 020-30, an ordinance establishing the maturity schedule for City of Hot Springs, Arkansas Waterworks Revenue Bonds, Series 2020, prescribing other matters related thereto, and declaring an emergency. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Foley, seconded by
Second.
Director Jones. In our staff report,
Yeah.
Mr. Bob Wright's going to come up he's our financial advisor on these matters.
Mr. and Miss Mayor, members of the board, I am Bob Wright, Senior Managing Director, Cruz and Associates, the city's finance director, financial advisor. And we were here 2 weeks ago, as you recall, working on your wastewater. And we've been kind of looking at this water project for the 7 or 8 years that I've been working for the city, obviously much longer than that with a lot of you. And it's been something that it's been long in the works, and tonight is a very exciting culmination of basically providing a generational supply of water to the citizens of Hot Springs and the area. When we met back in February, and we kind of went through this on the wastewater, we met back in February, rates were looking very good, and all of a sudden COVID and everything hit, interest rates went through the roof, and we kind of lost some of the momentum and some of the opportunities that we had on this project, but it quickly came back and started moving our direction. We were able to lock in the wastewater transaction at no impact on your ratepayers and provided $17 million for your wastewater system a couple weeks ago. Usually we don't pile on two large transactions on top of each other, but it's just a chance to take an opportunity to provide the lowest borrowing cost for your ratepayers, and that's what you've taken the correct steps of proceeding with that. I know that Leanne with Stevens is here somewhere. I did tell Daniel with Raymond James that's probably going to be packed tonight to not come over from Memphis. He's probably watching on TV. We, working last week after we got the wastewater put to bed, been working with staff and kind of looking at all the numbers, and we're very close back to where we were at February when we were at the all-time low in the interest rate cycle. So it certainly moved in our direction. Went into the order period this morning after numerous various structures that we went through, and I know I wore them out, and they wore me out on hey, this works, this doesn't, let's look at this, all trying to find the absolute perfect puzzle that delivers to the city the highest construction amount with no impact on your ratepayers. I will say before we get into this that both of your underwriters, Stevens and Raymond James, they really showed out today. They took the step at about 1 o'clock as we were wrapping everything up. There was still about $20 million of unsold bonds that were out there that they actually took the step in providing to you, said, we'll go ahead and commit to underwrite at these levels. They'll take the risk. Let's get this delivered to the city. And they did that. I know they've continued to work that during the day, and I know they've whittled that down. But they, at one point, took a big risk with $20 million that if interest rate moved on them, could have cost them. So I told them I was very thankful for what they did for the city in stepping up. So they did a great job. We've gone through this before. There's just a couple things to look at and show you. And this is the same interest rate chart that we've looked at every time on page 2. And you'll just see on the far right side, really today, after some economic statistics came out on retail sales in May, the highest jump ever, kind of sent the stock market up a good amount today. It inched interest rates up today a little bit as we were in the pricing. So that kind of factored in how we got all this done, and we're working that puzzle. But you can see that on the far right side, just a little bitty jump. But I think it kind of reiterates the point of there's so many moving parts to this market. We know that the borrowing cost for your ratepayers is so cheap right now. So there's no need to say, well, let's wait a little bit. I think we pegged the timing on both of these deals very good spot. Page 3, it's a little bit fuzzy, but this is kind of we had a little snip out of the PDF from your rate analyst. This is what your rate ordinance back in July of 2018, when y'all adopted that, your rate analyst had provided you a projection for the water project. And they said, well, if it's going to be $90 million project, these are the rates that we think we need to adopt and put in place, which we did. And what I highlighted is they forecast and estimated back then what they thought the principal and interest, the debt service would be. So that's kind of, they formed the bucket to say, all right, this is what we think the city doesn't need to exceed in spending on an annual principal and interest basis. So we took that and said, well, let's take advantage. If interest rates can continue to drop after 2018, we can put more in the bucket, more than that $90 million, because that doesn't impact your ratepayers. It just allows you to put more towards your system. So we took that, and then on page 4, we looked at all your projected financials from your rate analyst, and plugged that in. And there was one hurdle we needed to get over with Arkansas Natural Resource Commission, the state lending authority, where you have some debt. some debt, and we had to make sure that we met their requirements. So in 2023, we had to have a 1.2 times coverage ratio, which we did. We structured around that, and you can see every year on that very bottom line on the debt service coverage, they project that we will be 120% or greater. The next page is kind of the exciting page, is what was the final results, page 5. And what we were able to lock in today with your underwriters on that deposit to project construction fund is upon closing on the 23rd of July, there will be a deposit of $106,623,000 for your water project or projects. That's the impact of the interest rates dropping. It allowed that bucket to grow. It allowed us to put more projects in there without the need to go back to your ratepayers. So it's just it shows the much bigger bang for the buck, essentially, for your water system. The next page, page 6, and I highlighted the one thing to look at, the true interest cost. This is 30-year debt. And with your action and approval tonight, you'll be locking in at a true interest cost, and that factors in all the cost of issuance and all that. True interest cost, 2.69%. That's just almost historical low rate. That is the absolute bottom of what we've seen. So 30-year debt, fixed rate at 2.69%. And then the last page is just a compilation of the detailed Series 2020, what we did today. That's that first box there. And you can see there is a column there that we normally don't have, but on this one, to meet your rate analyst projections, we're actually setting aside $1,675,000 in a capitalized interest fund. It's going to allow the water system to have some money there to help pay towards the debt for the next 3 years. That's how we've factored in. That's what they requested. So you can see on the 2020 principal and interest, it matches up with your rate analyst principal and interest payments. That next column or that next box, subordinate obligation, that's the state, Arkansas Natural Resource Commission. That's their outstanding debt obligation. You've got some other water systems. So the far right side will be essentially the mortgage on your water system. So with action tonight, that allows us to have the underwriters send out confirmations to the investors tomorrow to get everything locked in, and then Ryan Bowman with Friday Firm is here to answer any questions on the ordinance. But we'll be working towards the closing documentation, and you'll have your closing and the money on July 23rd for your project.
Very good. Any questions of Mr. Wright? No questions? Then thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Anyone sign up from the audience or anyone in the audience that like to speak on this matter? Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. That completes the action items.
Mayor, there is an
Oh,
emergency.
there is an emergency clause.
Emergency
Thank
clause
you.
associated with this. It's found in Section 9, which I'll read in its entirety. Section 9 is hereby ascertained and declared that the improvements are immediately needed for the preservation of the public peace, health, and safety, and to remove existing hazards thereto. The improvements cannot be accomplished without the issuance of the bonds. Therefore, it is declared that an emergency exists, and this ordinance, being necessary for the preservation of public peace, health, and safety, shall be in force and take effect immediately upon and after its passage. That concludes your reading of the emergency clause. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt the emergency clause. Was it Director Jones, seconded by
Second.
Director Weatherford? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All same sign. Emergency clause is adopted. That concludes the action items.
Yes, sir.
Now we have Board of Directors items for discussion. Any director have an item for discussion?
I do, Mayor, if I may.
Please, Director Holliday.
I just wanted to make mention of two quick things. One, the Park Avenue Community Association was able to meet in person last evening because Watkins Park was so finished. So it was really wonderful that residents were able to come out, wear their masks, be socially distanced, and have a meeting in person for the first time in several months. So the park is looking great and moving along. So I just appreciated that from the city and the neighborhood that we were able to do that. And then second, a lot of the residents voiced their appreciation and gratitude to the police department. There have been two fairly major incidents in the Park Avenue neighborhood lately, and the police responded quickly and effectively. And that was a topic of conversation last night. And so I just wanted to share that with the board that we got a good report on how our police department was responding to some neighborhood issues. So just want to extend my thanks there and share that.
Very good. Thank you for that fine report. Any other discussion items or items of interest? Hearing none. Director Jones, you have something to say?
Yes, I do, Mayor. I move that we adjourn for the night.
We have,
Everybody wash your hands.
we got a motion by Director Jones in only the manner that she can adjourn a meeting. Seconded by
Second.
Director Weatherford. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? If you're opposed, you just stay here till it gets dark.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.